Level 1. The Recruit. You're 18, and you just signed a 25-year contract because your village felt like a prison and the promise of land sounded like a dream. You thought you'd be a hero, but for the first 6 months, you are just a professional hiker with a shovel. You spend 10 hours a day marching in 30 pounds of gear until your feet are more blistered than skin. You learn to build a fort in the dark, digging ditches and pounding stakes while an instructor screams that you move like a drunken Gaul. You learn to eat hard bread that breaks your teeth and sleep on the ground in the pouring rain. You aren't a soldier yet. You are a target practice dummy for the veterans who think your existence is an insult to the Republic. You learn the first lesson of the Legion. Before you can conquer the world, you have to survive the people who are teaching you how.
Level 2. The Legionary. You graduated to the front line, which means you've earned the right to stand behind a massive shield and hope the person next to you doesn't panic. Your life is a relentless grind of guard duty and manual labor. You spend more time building roads and clearing forests than you do fighting barbarians. You are part of a contubernum, 8 men sharing a small tent that smells like sweat, vinegar, and shared trauma. You realize that the glory of Rome is built on the backs of men who are mostly just bored and hungry. You learn the tortoise formation, standing in a box of wood and bronze while stones bounce off your head. You realize that you aren't a man anymore. You're just one scale on a very large, very angry metal snake.
Level 3. The Optio. You are Level 3, the Sergeant of the Century. You are the one who keeps the ranks straight and the discipline tight. You don't just carry a shield, you carry a staff to beat anyone who falls out of step. You spend your nights checking the watchfires and making sure the men haven't traded their sandals for wine. You are the bridge between the men who do the work and the officers who take the credit. You have more responsibility and more gray hairs, but you still sleep in a tent. You learn the second lesson. Leadership isn't about being liked. It's about being feared just slightly less than the enemy.
Level 4. The Centurion. You've been in for 15 years, and you finally have the transverse crest on your helmet. You are Level 4, the backbone of the Legion. You command 80 men who will die if you make a mistake, and they know it. You don't march anymore. You lead. You spend your days in a blur of logistics, punishment, and drills. When the line breaks, you are the one who has to stand in the gap with a vine staff and a short sword. You've seen 3 different emperors come and go, but the mud in Germany always looks the same. You realize that your life belongs to the eagle on the standard, and the eagle doesn't care about your soul.
Level 5. The Primus Pilus. You are the first spear, the highest-ranking Centurion in the entire Legion. You are the man the general actually listens to anytime he wants to make a huge decision. You sit in the Council of War and tell the aristocrats why their plans will get everyone killed. You are the living memory of every battle the Legion has ever fought. You have a horse now, and a house in the permanent camp, and a pension that looks like a small fortune. But you also have 20 years of scars and 1,000 dead friends. You realize that you have reached the top of the mountain, only to see how many people you had to climb over to get there.
Level 6. The Tribune. You didn't rise through the ranks. You were born into them. You are a young nobleman doing your mandatory service before you go into politics. You wear a purple stripe and a clean cloak, and the veterans look at you like you're a lost child. You spend your days writing reports and trying to stay out of the way of the Centurions. You think you're in command, but everyone knows you're just an intern with a fancy title. You learn the third lesson. In Rome, blood matters more than sweat, but on the battlefield, the mud doesn't care who your father was.
Level 7. The Legate. You are the commander of the entire Legion. 5,000 men wait for your word to move. You live in a palace in the center of the camp and drink wine imported from Italy while your men drink vinegar. You don't see the faces of the enemy anymore. You see them as blocks of wood on a map. Your success isn't measured in bravery, but in triumphs and political favor in the Senate.
You realize that you are no longer a soldier. You are a politician. Level 8. The Governor. You've traded your armor for a toga and your legion for an entire province. You are the law, the judge, and the tax collector for millions of people. You spend your days listening to petitions and your nights worrying about a rebellion that you know is coming. You are surrounded by servants who want your favor and enemies who want your head. You realize that power isn't about control. It's about managing the chaos of 1,000 different greeds. You are the face of Rome to a people who hate you, and you are starting to hate them back.
Level 9. The Emperor. You are the top of the pyramid, the living god, and your every whim is a decree. You have achieved total power, and it has made you a prisoner in your own palace. You are the only person in the world who knows the full truth of the Empire's decay. You sit in a dim room at 3 a.m., looking at a map of a world that is too big to hold. You have to decide if a city should burn so that an empire can breathe. You realize that ultimate power is just ultimate isolation. And the eagle on the standard is finally starting to look like a vulture.
Level 10. The Retired Veteran. You are 70 years old. You retired 10 years ago to a small farm in a land you once conquered. You live in a quiet house, far away from the trumpets and the screams. You spend your days writing a scroll that no one will read, trying to explain the choices you made while you were the emperor. You have a pension and a library, and a list of ghosts that keep you company. You sit on your porch and watch the sun set over the hills, wondering if the Republic was worth the sacrifice. A young kid walks up the road. He's 18. He's wearing a cheap tunic and carrying a wooden practice sword. He has a dream to see Rome. You look at him and you see yourself 50 years ago. You don't tell him about the mud or the situations. You just hand him a cup of water and tell him to keep his sandals tight. The cycle continues.